Hello and welcome to another episode of Power On Podcast, 00Status, if I can talk. Gracious. I'm one of your hosts. What I got, 553. How's it going? Hello. Hi. And with me is the galactic brain.
Galactic. The cosmic.
Cosmic brain. Interdimensional brain. Mr. Sushi B, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm going to have a hard time following up with that. I don't know. That was a very interesting... I don't know what motif you're going with there. Maybe because before recording this, we were kind of all over the map. I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. I never think about those things.
Well, it's the last time I get to call you Agent 553, at least for a while.
Oh, no.
I guess I could do it anyways after, but wouldn't make very much sense, would it?
The theming would be off.
A little bit. And I think we have a few ideas where we might be headed after this anyways. So probably a little bit removed from the Bond franchise.
Just ever slightly. Before getting into it, did you see that there was I wish I would have linked it to you because I saw it earlier today, that there was possible rumblings of who may be possibly in the running for the next Bond.
As Bond, the character?
Yes.
No, and are you trying to lead me into guessing something really random? Is that why? Or?
No, because I seen it earlier today before I went into work, and then I kind of just was, quick little skim of it, and I was like, this tells me really nothing, thanks, and then...
No, I honestly, I don't really follow... I don't try to follow those rumors and all that stuff.
Nah. It wasn't anybody I knew, but that's not saying a lot.
Oh, so well, I do seem to remember, I think that they were saying they were looking for someone who's maybe not quite as well known.
As they should, I think. I think that's...
It's good when you're starting a bit more fresh to... You have those preloaded notions about certain actors and stuff, and sometimes the casting is just right. Sometimes it is.
Right.
There is a very particular actor who I think a lot of people would just be fine with if this actor took over the franchise, but that actor seems to be pretty tied up in a lot of projects. So, but yeah, going with somebody a little less known gives you a little more flexibility.
Yeah, we'll see. Because who knows how long? I mean, that could still be years down the road.
Yeah, that's just it. And if that's the case, probably, I don't know. The fresher you can get probably makes more sense. If you're not trying to step in right away.
Right.
Yeah, because people will kind of forget about it the longer it goes, and then you can kind of hype it up, and people will be mad. No matter what, people are always mad. Or people don't seem to ever like these castings. They're always mad about casting, and then they go and see the movie, and then they can decide after that. But it just seems like these actors don't get a chance even right off the bat half the time, which is too bad.
Must be angry.
Yeah. Like Craig took a lot of heat. You never hear now, but all the stuff about him being blonde and being too stocky and all of that stuff, and then they walked out of Casino Royale being, acting like they never said those things. What a great movie! Remember when you were calling him the blonde Bond? I said that? No, I didn't. I didn't say that.
No. What are you talking about?
But you ready to close this chapter here with the final episode?
Yeah. So we have.
Is it going to be bittersweet like a Vesper?
I don't know.
What did you say? Bitter aftertaste, or however you worded that?
I think it said bitter aftertaste.
Something to that effect, right? He said it's sweet, but it has a bitter aftertaste or something.
Yeah, so we have a smattering, a few different things we're going to kind of end this out on here. And I'm going to start up here with the... at least I sort of have a ranking for them, but the top 7 James Bond themes.
Right. So for this, we didn't talk too much at length. Were you including the visual aspects or just the song?
I was just thinking the songs.
Okay, so was I, but sometimes they're coupled really well with the actual visual component, but
that is true. But
so I didn't know if you were allowing that to affect your decision making.
I will not be swayed.
I will not be swayed
by shiny objects in the eye. No.
So I'm really expecting you to have all time high on this list.
Oh yes, yeah, that's certainly
because those visuals really would have pushed it over the edge for you.
So, I guess I'm kicking this off, but
Sure.
Can I put in an honorable mention?
Well, there is a very honorable mention that I assume we both would have. But you go ahead.
Okay, so I'm going to assume when you just say that one's going to be my number one just because of how iconic it is.
Oh, well, there's one I'm talking about a rejected theme.
Oh, see,
sorry. Yeah, I'm talking about a rejected theme that I didn't include because it wasn't actually used.
Okay, that could have been possibly number one. Forever I Am All Yours.
Yes.
That's just such a fantastic
rejected theme. Quantum of Solace.
Exactly. No, I was actually like an actual honorable mention, legit song. But I will throw this out there. My number one, just out of the sheer fact of what it is, and I love myself a good 5/4, is John Barry's James Bond theme.
Yeah.
Like that's in there. Like that's just I could not put it anywhere else in the list other than just putting it at number one.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to get that.
Yeah,
one.
It's arguably. I was kind of considering even using the Dr. No, like usage of it, because it uses that, but then it has that other club type song, and then it has the Three Blind Mice. Like it combines, it smushes all three together, and I don't know why, but I actually like that. But if you're just listening to it as a song, not really, but you kind of need the visual and the movie to kind of back that all up.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're just going with a straight song, it's kind of hard to argue the
right
John Barry theme.
Another rejected song that it's different, but I do really like it is the Juvenile for Ace of Base.
Ace of Base from, is that GoldenEye?
That would have been GoldenEye's theme had their agent been like, yes, totally fine. Instead he was like, no, Bond's dying, leave him alone. So
they still released that song, I believe, just as a single or something, did they not?
Eventually I released, I think, in early, like 2002, 2004, somewhere around there. And that's when they changed it to the Juvenile. But if you listen to the song, when it says the Juvenile, just think GoldenEye. Like, yeah. Okay. I think somebody even changed, like, altered it.
Oh, I'm not surprised.
To do that. But yeah. However, those all aside, the other honorable mention that I have on here is License to Kill.
Okay.
Good old Gladys Knight.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't quite fit you on there, sorry. But I do love that theme.
Nice.
So
I didn't go with any honorable mentions except the Quantum ones, just simply because it wasn't actually used. So I didn't feel it was appropriate, as I said, to put in the list. But it's such a good theme song, and it's so disappointing that it wasn't used.
It's ridiculous. I remember I was playing that for my mother, and she's like, "Why did they not use this?"
Because it didn't have star power behind it is the only reason. It's really only it. You know what's crazy though? That Another Way to Die song is, I really, really despised it for a long time, and then I listened to it again recently, and I was like, I don't love this song. It's not a good James Bond song, but it doesn't appall me as it once did. I don't know what it is. Like, there's parts of the song that are kind of cool, like just like segments of the song that are kind of neat, and some of the lyrics are decent, like that, was it like another trigger finger pulled for Her Majesty's something, I can't remember, but yeah, it was like, okay, I see they tried to tie it in, but it's kind of wonky. But yeah, anyways,
so
let's move forward.
Okay, but yeah, so I've listed off a slew there, so I'm gonna push it back to you. Where would you?
Okay. I
Yeah.
didn't put these in order either. I've just thrown out them just as a bulk, kind of as we did with the
Mm,
last episode. I think
okay.
the only thing I've actually put into any order was we're going to talk about ranking of Bond actors. So
Okay.
that's the only one I've really tried to solidify my
Hmm.
thoughts on. So I will throw out, I know it's not one of your favorites, but it is pretty iconic, and I do enjoy the performance, and that is Goldfinger. So I just want to kind of get that one out of the way right away. But that one also ties very well to the visual. I think that visual component adds a lot to the song.
This is gonna be probably sacrilege to a lot of people, but when it comes to Shirley's performances in the three, I think my favorite's Diamonds Are Forever. I
Mm,
know I give that song so much flack, but
I'd probably put
like
that at
it's
number
just
2 because Moonraker's quite bad.
yeah, Moonraker unfortunately is kind of the
It's just a very
oddball
weird.
there.
Although I do like that disco version of that song at the end of the movie. It's kind of cool.
But yeah,
Yeah, I
I
know you don't really like that track, but
yeah, it's just something about it.
yeah,
Just
it's funny how much has reverberated from that track, though, right? With
right.
Thunderball kind of tries to do its own thing, but still kind of mimic that sort of '60s symphony style kind of music,
Mm.
um, kind of jazzy sort of. And yeah, there's influences in several other songs, License to Kill being one of them.
Right, right. Yeah. Sorry,
No, that's all
Goldfinger.
good. It's all good. All right, back to you.
Back to me. Well, I will keep it in the ancient sphere, we'll say. And I've I kind of mention this out every now and again and whatnot, so I don't think this is too surprising. But I also really, really appreciate and really enjoy the Nancy Sinatra's how how could you not love You Only Live Twice?
Yeah. That
I
composition is so well. I listened to that 5 times today. There's a Bjork version that's actually really interesting.
really.
Yeah, like her singing is not that great, but the instrument, I think it's just because that song's instrumentally constructed so well.
Hmm.
I'll send you the link after. It's about a 5 minute track, but I was like, oh, this is really neat. Like this is different.
Huh.
But yes, that is on my list too. That is for
Nice.
sure. If I had to really, really pick one that wasn't the James Bond theme, that might be it for me.
Okay.
I really
I don't
like
know.
that
Yeah, I
song.
don't know if I'd put it up as number two. I just really like it. Um, Plus I love just the language of it.
Hmm.
It's just primo stuff.
The non like Bond used version of it has all those extra instrumental parts like
Hmm.
throughout, which is really cool. I actually like both versions a lot. The Bond one's a little bit more calm, almost like a lullaby sort of. And then
Yeah.
that other one's got all of like the extra additional instruments in it. That's really cool too.
Mm. So yeah.
Well, you kind of stole one of mine, so I'm gonna probably tap out before you do, unless I steal some of yours.
Well, I would hope that
I'm gonna
there's at
think we have a few
least one of
crossovers.
them. I think
Oh,
there's at least one
I
of them.
think there's probably 3.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. So License to Kill, though, I'll just put that was on my top 7 list. I
Okay.
don't know what it is about that, and maybe it's because I like Goldfinger, and that song does evoke that with a more of an 80s sort of
Just that
pop
opening
love
sting
theme. Well,
is
yeah, that part is,
so
but
delicious.
yeah,
Dun, dun.
it's just it's that her. I don't know. She just got such good range in her voice, and yeah, like Gladys. You just go back Glass Night and the Pips, right? Like that
Mm.
'60s Motown, and this is kind of that '80s evolution of Motown. Kind of. It's such a really good performance. So I really like
It
that track.
is.
So yeah, that was on mine.
Okay. Now I feel like I should try to like pick one that may not be on there, so I don't feel like I'm pushing you out.
That's all good.
I
I don't think you're going to surprise me. I don't feel like for this list.
probably not. I'm probably pretty
And
obvious.
vice versa. Well, me
I
too. I think vice
I
versa
am
probably.
Hungry Like the Wolf. And by golly gee, as much as I don't like the movie, I like Duran Duran's A View to a Kill.
Yeah, it's on my list too.
I'm sorry.
No, it's such a good song. No. I assumed we were going to have a lot of crossover here. That's what I said. There's probably at least 3 more that are coming.
Yeah.
But that is a really good song. Like, it's just on its own.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even need to be a Bond theme.
Yeah, it's just a really tasty song. And I've come around. I used to back in the ancient days of playing DDR and stuff, I always hated the Duran Duran songs. Cuz what was it? There's the Reflex. Always had that the Reflex song, and I hated that song. Just I don't know, something about it that was just like, no thank you. So there's always been this kind of stink when it comes to Duran Duran, but that is blown away over time. So.
And I'm not a big fan of Duran Duran necessarily, but they had that one, I don't know if it was like super successful, but they had that one last single, Ordinary World, in the I want to say early to mid 90s.
That's another one that thinks it's in DDR.
Okay. I that's a pretty good track, I figure. I like that one. Yes, but I had A View to a Kill as well. Because it's a good one. What's that one line? It's like the phoenix born of flame, or whatever that one line is. And then in the visual, the image turns from the hands, then they're like flaming after. I don't know. It's a cool part. Kudos to those directors that have to make those. Like, it's got to be a lot of fun, but a lot of challenge, right? To take a song and try to somehow create something that visually can align and be impressive. And unfortunately, I think the Craig era was quite weak when it came to that.
Yeah.
Not completely, but just in a lot of ways.
And it's like you have this very strong presentation for years and years and years, and then it sort of topples a little bit, and then it does feel like they just lost a bit.
It always felt like they were trying to tie in how all the stories were linked, because I think we were talking about, right, they'd have an image of Vesper, they'd have an image of a previous character, something like that, and try to almost relay a story within the story, which again can be really admirable, and some of the imagery was really cool in some of the stuff. But I think of like the Spectre one, I'm like, oh wow, this one's just, I don't know, just doesn't grab me. Like, there's nothing
bland.
Yeah. But anyways, so what do I got left? I got 1, 2, 3. I got 4 left. Okay, well, I'm not sure if you have this one on your list. And I went with the instrumental version of this, and that's From Russia with Love.
Okay, yeah, I do not.
Yeah, not the lyrical one at the end of the film, but the one that's used at the beginning, with all the gyrating ladies and all that stuff.
Right.
No, I'm not a big fan of the visuals necessarily, but I like that composition. Sounds kind of neat. With I don't know what is maybe an organ that's making some of the notes in that opening track, but I like the instrumental version quite a lot. And I think when we did the recording for that, I was quite pleased that they left the lyrical version at the end, because I think it made more sense at the end versus at the beginning. And just to have that instrumental at the beginning, I thought was a better choice. So yeah, From Russia with Love. Instrumental.
All right. Yeah, I'm not surprised by your choice on that. Just not that I don't like it. It just doesn't. It's like, okay. So.
For that movie.
That movie though. So, I guess I'll go with this one. I have really come around to this one, and for a while not that I hated it, I was just kind of like, but I do remember how it was for the longest time kind of seen as, oh, well, these are the reasons why we don't have any male singers for these Bonds in the 90s and stuff. And that is The Living Daylights. don't know why, but that song has really snuck its way into my ear hole. And
even though you don't think that that's Sonic the Hedgehog Labyrinth zone.
yeah.
It's funny how that's like a nice coupling with A View to a Kill, though, right? They're both very 80s.
Oh yeah, it's unrepentantly.
Yeah.
Just like, yep, we're the 80s.
A lot of synth and stuff, and then License to Kill kind of has that, but it's the 80s in that different sort of vibe, not the sort of traditional pop vibe. Right.
So it's just the living is in the way we die.
I like the headlights. Or what's it? The headlights on, the morning lights fading away or something. I can't remember all the lyrics, but there are good lyrics.
Yeah, it's.
I haven't listened to it.
Wish I could remember the segment. It's gonna bother me.
You went from trying to remember to click, 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 click.
Oh yeah, it's gonna bother me.
But it does have good lyrics, and it would have been, if I had a 10 list, that would have been on it for sure.
Yeah, comes the morning and the headlights fade away.
Oh, okay, headlights fade away. But if I had to choose between A View to a Kill and that one, I'd lean a little more onto the View to a Kill side.
Yeah.
But it's a bit of a tough call, because there's that really 80s synth really comes out of both of those tracks pretty well.
Yeah, and it is a little bit longer. Like, View to a Kill's what, like 3.5 minutes long?
Yeah, there's an extended Living Daylights version, I think. There's like a 5 minute and whatever, I don't know, 20 seconds or something. There is an extended version of it. So I think you sent it to me at one point.
I think I did.
Yeah, with that great 80s action Dalton poster.
Yeah.
They just don't make them like they used to, eh? Oh, that's another thing I'm sorry the Craig era really suffers from. Those posters are just so blasé, right? They're missing that sort of critical element of, I don't know, enticing you to really go see a movie, other than the fact that it says 007 on it.
Right.
That element kind of died with the Dalton era, really, right? Like, even Brosnans are just...
They're pretty similar to Craig.
Yeah, they're actually pretty similar. So yeah, both of them kind of got the short end on that front.
Not everybody can be cool.
Yeah, they're still pretty cool. Like, don't get me wrong, they're still cool. They just didn't get cool posters. Anyways, so that knocks me down to just 2 left here, and
I only have 2 left myself.
One of them I know we're gonna agree upon. So,
I know I lied. I have 3.
Yeah, I think you still have, because we combined on a couple there. I'm not sure if this one's on yours, but I feel like it probably is. That's GoldenEye.
Of course.
Yeah, Tina Turner's performance is so classic. Again, really pulling back to like the Shirley Bassey era, the Tom Jones, those kind of early ones. Mm-hmm. Kudos to Bono and the Edge for just writing a fantastic Bond theme, and for her to come in and just destroy it, right? Like, her voice is so perfect, and when it almost cracks when she hits that GoldenEye near the end, it's just so good. Like, she's not gonna crack, but when she just hits that octave, that you're just like, wow, so good.
Now, what you had said about A View to a Kill and the Living Daylights, for me, License to Kill and GoldenEye are kind of in that similar.
They are very similar, yes. That's
even though they're what's that, like 7 years apart kind of thing. There's still a very strong tonal edge to them.
Yep.
That's why I had to just give it an honorable mention for License to Kill. Because it's like, I want you in there, but like, I can't really.
They're almost the A and B sides for both of those couplings, right? Like, if you had an A for this one, then the other one would be your B, and then the same thing here. If GoldenEye's your A, License to Kill could be your B, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only difference, I think, is just the musical composition of GoldenEye doesn't feel like the 80s, quite like that first two pairing would. Just because.
That's fair.
Yeah, like who's the composer for GoldenEye? I remember it's got that very industrial sound, right? Lots of just almost
right.
non-music in a sense, like
yeah,
like very
it is 90s.
yeah, so it's very different, but it doesn't completely come out in that track, right? But just some of that dun, 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 like it's very, I don't know, it's pulling away from the synth, but it's a different sound. So, but it's such a good song, right? And also again, one that really couples well. That whole visual composition is done really well for GoldenEye. It matches the song excellently.
Outside the gun, out of the mouth.
Yeah, I don't like that. But like all of the falling sickles and hammers and stuff really need the toppling statues. All imagery that very much fit with the time too. Like, I mean, if it was 2-3 years earlier, it might be a little bit more, but still pretty
poignant.
neat.
Yeah, it's a little.
But it's still cool because it's sort of saying, you know, just because this happened only 4 or 5 years ago, Russia's not quite, you know, out of, you know, time doesn't just flow that quick that you would be, oh yeah, done, wipe your hands clean, we're moving on.
I don't know. Way that some people act. It seemed like, oh, okay, we're good.
Well,
problem solved.
Behind closed doors, I think there's a lot of different handshakes going on.
Dun, dun, dun.
But yes, GoldenEye.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna pick one that I know that
I only have one
not
left, and we both know it's what it
is. Yeah,
so.
I'll save that one because it's also on mine.
Yep.
Like of the two, and that other one that I also really like is Garbage's "The World's Not Enough."
Yeah,
like,
I figured that was on yours.
Yeah, I like the song a good deal. I love that phrase, whatever, the world's not enough. It's just, yeah, primo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it works really well for the bow of that, for the package of that movie.
Being that the performer's garbage, though, the only thing for me with that song is I always kind of assumed it'd be a little bit more grungy, but it's a little bit more whimsical. So I don't have a problem with it necessarily. I find the instrumental, it's just like Garbage as a performer, right? It was always sort of not like grungy, but not like a Nirvana style or anything of that nature, but having a little bit of a heavier edge than what was used in the movie. But it's fine. Like, the song is fine. It's not one of my top favorites, but it's certainly not horrible.
It's no Sheryl Crow.
Well, yeah. There's a reason we're not doing bottom 7 theme songs, because it's
it'd be all-time high.
Well, it'd be.
And Tomorrow Never Dies.
I can tell you basically from 73 to. It would have been a pretty fast list to go through. Anyways, so the one we both have, and this, I assume a lot of people like this song, but I could see where somebody might be like, that's not a Bond theme. But it is Casino Royale, and that is You Know My Name by Chris Cornell. See, this is the kind of track I almost figured Garbage would be going for, with Shirley Manson's type of vocal range. She showed a lot of range, honestly, in The World's Not Enough, though more than I would have expected, because usually the music fit a different motif for that band. But this is quite grungy, right? Like, and it fits the bulk of what the movie
that's
going
what I was
for
say,
with the character, until that latter, I don't know, quarter of the film.
Yeah, where, like, The World's Not Enough with Pierce, it just doesn't quite fit to have that more aggressive tone, but with Craig, it works.
And you get Die Another Day, better. Which is kind of really out there, right? And I know we both don't hate that song, right? But it's out there.
And even though they're CGI, I like the little scorpions as they come to and stuff. It's actually kind of a nice touch. And I hate saying that.
No CGI animals. But Casino Royale, again, another one. The visual presentation for that sequence is just really excellent. It's so different than what we had seen, but it feels like it was from the 60s in a way. And I like just all of the dark silhouettes, and it's funny. I don't think you've ever played Feel the Magic on the DS, but they look like the characters from Feel the Magic.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah, that's that game where you're the boy, then you're trying to chase down the girl, and you have to do all those weird mini games. And that's when like the DS head was like, oh, there's a microphone that you can talk into, and you can blow into it and stuff. So you have all those goofy mini games, but those silhouettes look like they're transposed from that game into, You Know My Name or Casino Royale's opening sequence. But yeah, it's just the motif is done so well. They do a great job of having, the playing card motif represented throughout, and it looks cool, right? And it just then
I think
Chris Cornell.
I think David Arnold had a hand in both it and The World's Not Enough.
Well, is he not the one who did the composition for GoldenEye? Is he not the? I wasn't sure, but I thought he was.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, the song is so good, and you could put this song on, and put it in your car, and nobody would ever look over and be like, "What?" Like it just sounds like a typical rock song, right? But it's just happens to be a Bond theme as well. Not that I'd ever feel embarrassed if I pulled up listening to You Only Live Twice next to somebody, but it doesn't have the same feel when you're driving a car.
I got some looks from people because I used to play this when I was managing the store, the like Bond theme album and stuff, and you get some looks for those early ones.
Oh yeah, I could see that.
It'd be like,
well, because they're so tied to the film, right? Like
I get it. But by golly gee, you get Live and Let Die, and everybody's like, "Oh, this is so great." I'm surprised you didn't have that on your list, to be honest.
Well, no, because I know I do like that song, and I was considering it, but again, if there was like a 10, it would be
at 10. You would have,
for sure. And it's a really good song. Like I like lots of parts of that song.
Yeah.
But I just kind of reassessed, and as I said, I listened today, and I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to go with these ones instead. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but Chris Cornell just absolutely nails the lyrics. The lyrics are just like so perfect. I think we had spoken about that when we talked about Casino Royale, that I don't think there's any other Bond theme that really talks about who Bond is. Like, I'm trying to think of another theme that might have an odd line or two. I guess Nobody Does It Better is referencing like Bond, right? Like it's supposed to be talking about, his skill and all of that, but not in the way that this song does, right? This song really, I don't know, it conveys the theme of the movie. It conveys, just like so much in just a 3-minute song, and a lot of power to it, right? Like it's just like it drives, like and the instrumental is awesome. I love that one when he's driving the Ford, and it's like that Bahamas like version of it. So good. Oh, it's so good. I could listen to that on loop for probably an hour. Just that sort of on the beach version of it. It's so good.
Oh yeah.
All right. So what do you got left?
That's it. That was it.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said you had 3.
Well, I did. GoldenEye, World's Not Enough.
Okay. Sorry,
and then You Know My Name.
Fair enough.
So.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Not many surprises.
Thunder on that one.
Oh no!
That's right.
No, I don't think there's too many surprises necessarily there.
I think we were pretty forthcoming with.
I think so. But I will say,
there's no trickeration with All Time High.
These don't necessarily. Yeah. You're not living in the inverse universe or whatever.
Right. The mirrorverse.
The Legend of Zelda Dark World. Wow, that song's so good too.
That it is.
I would listen to that song over a good chunk of those Bond themes. Just put that over top of those themes. And I'd probably get a little more excited for a couple of those movies. But I will say, some of these theme songs don't correlate to my top 7 films. So I am glad about that. Some of them do, but yeah, some of them don't.
All right. Well, now that you've I guess, open the door to that.
Segued without purposely meaning to segue.
Right. Why don't you start us off with your...
Okay, so...
I guess you just have these in non-order,
I do not have them in order, no.
Okay.
There's only one that I would consider, and it's one that nobody likes. And that might be my favorite movie, but that's purely from a nostalgic standpoint. Not because it's a particularly amazing movie. Okay, but I'll kick it off here with... I'm going to take one off the board for you. Okay. So I'm going to take off From Russia with Love. I'm pretty certain that's on your list.
That it is.
Yeah. As I think we gushed enough about it when we talked about it however many episodes ago. I don't recall what number that was now, but it's just such a tight, perfectly simple film until that latter 15 minutes or whatever, right? Whereas you were saying they were trying to cobble stuff together because they had blown the budget on that big explosion and everything.
Right, and desperately trying to keep it all together.
Right, but the corners that they cut when it came to how do we film on a train and just keeping things so simple without getting out of control and trying to add all these twists and turns and swerves. There are some, and there's just enough. And it's great villains, actually. There's more than one villain in there that's really good. And good female lead, even though she's kind of a bit of that damsel in distress, but she has some ability, right, to kind of work her way through some of these issues or situations that come up. Yeah, and just that whole train sequence is just so fun. And I know people are like, oh, it's just an Alfred Hitchcock movie. It's like, well, that's fine. What's wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with it. It's done. It's done well. It would have been neat if Alfred Hitchcock did film it. Maybe that last 15 minutes might have looked very different. So we probably would have had an attack of birds or something. Something random. And Bond would have had vertigo at the same time. But yeah, I don't know if enough can be said about that. It could quite possibly be, if you could shave out that 15 minutes, you could probably argue that it's a perfect Bond movie. It has espionage, it has action, it has suspense, it has intrigue.
It's a great one that still translates, 50, 60 years later.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. That's a very strong testament for the film, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that, and anybody, I guess, who maybe grew up watching them, or the early front half, we'll say, of Bond films, that always seems to be you don't hear a lot of people go, ugh, that one.
Right.
So, like, it is strong.
Yeah. I can see it being an adult appreciated film, though, too. If you're much younger, you might watch and be like, oh, okay, it's kind of plodding a little bit, feels a bit slow. Like, I could see that being, if you're a bit younger as a viewer, perhaps. Not for sure, but just I could see that, because it doesn't have a lot of sort of the Hollywood intensity, right, of there's an explosion, but there's not multiple explosions and massive, massive gunfights of people, like, running around on fire and all this kind of stuff. That you get that in the last 15 minutes, though. Those guys on fire jumping off the boat. And then you might appreciate it more knowing, how Hollywood used to work. It wasn't like, fire extinguisher on those guys. No, they're burning for, a solid minute or two because they got to get it on film. But I feel like it ages well as you grow older too. I could see that being a type of movie that as you continue to watch it over time, and if you put it on the shelf and go back to it every 5 years, like, it keeps aging well. And as your mind matures, as you see more types of film or other media, that you might appreciate it even more.
Yeah.
But the ball is in your court again.
All right. Well,
6 apiece, I guess now.
I would imagine this one's on yours as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll throw it out here. I will lay claim to one of the more recent ones, Casino Royale.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, like this is one of those that I remember, actually getting to watch this in the theaters
Mhm.
and surprising my roommate about how thoroughly I enjoyed it. And to see how it has gone has not been nearly as enjoyable, but just that movie itself is, yes, it is a very sizable film, but it moves well for clip as it is. It's great for establishing Craig as Bond.
Mhm.
It is confident. I think this is another one of those films that, much like From Russia with Love, it'll still stick around.
Mhm.
Compare and like years down the road, be like, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's yeah, and you can plop it on and be like, yeah, that's a good one.
Yep, I think so. And from a lot of other people's lists and stuff, this ends up being a number one for a lot of people. I don't think people expected to enjoy this movie as much as they did, but it still seems to remain very high on many people's list if they enjoy the Bond franchise.
Right. I think the weakest part is the bit in the like going to Miami real quick.
Okay.
Just because it's just, like, if I was to point out a weak part for the film, to me that might be that weakest stretch.
Like when they're in the Body Worlds Museum?
Not necessarily, just like getting to Miami and just the whole premise of it.
How fast he gets on a plane to Miami, seemingly.
Right. Yeah. That it is just kind of like, okay, and then, all right, like, for the urgency of it, it doesn't feel like it. Plus the fight on the vehicle, the oil or the gas.
Yeah,
gas truck.
I agree. I find not so much getting to Miami. It's like once he's in the airport, I feel like it's intense and it's fine, but that's where I could draw my attention away for a chunk, like with the plane driving out, and until you get the lovely smirk though at the end of that whole sequence,
right.
which is pretty awesome. But yeah,
right.
I agree. Like I would say that about 15 minutes there, it's not bad. It's just kind of like, this is maybe the softest part of this film.
Yeah, it's just a soft little gooey center. But beyond that, yeah, it's like even the false end of like, oh, everything's good. Later, shoot, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So like even that doesn't feel like it's too like, okay, come on now. Come on now. So
yeah.
All right.
Yep. No, I agree.
Back to you.
It's funny now. I just realized I know what movie's going to be on your list. It's not on mine, but and it's not because I don't like it. It just isn't make quite that high a list for me. But I know it's going to be on yours now. I'm not going to say it because just in case I'm wrong. But
okay,
I do have a feeling that I sussed out another one that might end up on yours.
Dun dun dun.
I'm going to pick one that is either on yours or fringe on yours. I feel.
Mm-hmm.
That is Live and Let Die.
It is not on my list.
Okay. Was it even fringe? Because I know when we talked about it, you were kind of like, I don't mind this. I remember you saying.
I don't know about fringe, but it's not. It's one of those that, like, I like it, but it doesn't. Because these are like more of your personal. Hey, I like these kind of things. So it's like I like it, but it's not. It wasn't quite on my radar, I guess.
Yep. No, that's fair. I just think there's too many enjoyable characters and performances in this movie to not have it on my personal list.
Mm-hmm.
And although there are long parts that you're kind of like, okay, let's shave this down. Like this part's kind of not that fun. But it's just so many of those characters and their interactions is so unique, and just seeing Bond be so displaced
Mhm.
in so much of the movie. Like being in a slum alleyway just seems so out of place for the character because he's usually in a like Casino Royale, fancy casino, fancy train, wherever, always in some Goldfinger, right in the Alps, like all these kind
Mhm.
of really exotic, unique, and then he's just in a back alley in New York. It's just so it's just all of those kind of things, and just how over the top it is with Felix saying like he's driving a pimpmobile or whatever.
No, right, right.
I have so much fun with that movie. It could have easily fit into like a Grindhouse, double feature
Mm.
basically. But then the crocodile stunt and Teehee and Whisper and Solitaire, Kananga, like there's so many things I love about the movie that's just a
Mhm.
lot of fun. I find it's a fun Bond movie, and a really, again for me, a really great first outing for Roger Moore. It couldn't have kind of gone better in my opinion.
Mm.
Like as the Kickstarter for his run. I know people are like, oh, he was trying too much to still be like Connery, but not. And I'm
Well,
okay with
that's
all
not
that kind
also
of
on
cluster.
him though,
No,
right?
for sure, but
Like
I'm
some of
okay with
that's
that cluster.
direction.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And then Baron Samedi, right? And so,
Right.
and just that unique element of the voodoo and just that hinge of doubt in your mind of is this real or is this all made up mumbo jumbo
It's
and just
spooky.
the twists and turns, right? Of, well, okay, that's how they were spying on people, is because they had cameras in the mouths of all the idols around the island. But then Baron Samedi, his head getting blown off and then somehow raising out of a grave again and stuff. So
Mm.
yeah, I find so many fun elements in the movie, and it's just a fun watch.
All right, all right. Yeah, it just wasn't quite on my radar for it. I don't know why, because it's not like I didn't enjoy it, and like you had mentioned, there's plenty to enjoy about it. It's just, I guess it's just kind of in the middle of the pack for me somewhere.
That's all good.
So, I guess I'll throw this one out here, and maybe this might come as a surprise.
Mhm.
Maybe not. I don't know. Doctor No.
I that's a fringe one for me. I struggled to
Okay.
not put it on my list because I like
Yeah.
that one too.
Yeah, like it's just like for the first outing, Quarrel. I mean,
To this day, I still laugh sometimes. It's like, no, Quarrel.
Quarrel.
How do you get torched by
What are you
a
doing,
clearly rolling tank coming at you? Hey, we got Quarrel Jr.
True. How do? But yeah, just to start it off and everything.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah, it just doesn't. There's really no other way to put it, right? Like it is such a great first step, like you say, from Roger Moore.
Yep.
Like this is a great first step for Sean Connery.
Yep.
and the crews. Yeah, it's just, what else is there to really say about it? Like it's the first one.
Yeah. Nope, I agree. And I remember when we talked about that movie, I think we had that same agreement, right? Just saying this could have misfired in so many ways, but it didn't. It was able to pull it together on, I don't remember, did they consider that a high budget or a low budget at that point?
I would imagine it's probably a for the time, considering thinking about it, probably a big one, because it was what,
budget.
one?
It was about $1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but you're right. There's just it's a good outing to start things. It's slow when it needs to be. It picks up when it needs to pick up. There's enough suspense. There's enough of the espionage stuff. It's got a good blend going on. And there's elements that are kind of stupid. Being an early 60s movie and some of the screening is bad and so forth. And some of just the things like, again, Quarrel, like the thing is so clearly right there, but because, just filmmaking looked different then, right? And the believability of audiences and stuff was very different. So, but it is a great first outing.
Well, then you think about it, it's like you you prime with Dr. No, and then you hit it with From Russia with Love. How we didn't get something else from those first couple steps. Really, really fortunate. Really lucky.
Are you talking
on
about
that.
that they didn't bring in the octopus?
I'm so sad. I wish we could have had that.
Wasn't it that they brought the crabs in, but the crabs were frozen, so they couldn't, something like that. So they ended up just putting the water coming up
just like, whatever.
to Honey Rider or whatever. They really tried.
They tried. So, yeah, back to you.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I struggled to not put Dr. No on mine because I was thinking, yeah, it is a really good, and it's a very watchable film to just sit down at any point and watch. Okay, well, I'm gonna go in a very different direction.
Okay.
I'm gonna put License to Kill out there.
Hey, that was on my list as well.
Okay, I have a hard time picking between. I don't have Living Daylights on mine. I was trying not to pick that just simply because I wanted to have one Dalton to leave room for other films, and I really like The Living Daylights too. Like, it was a tough call, but I just like how unabashedly 80s the License to Kill is. It doesn't try to hide the fact that it's a Bond movie, but most people look at it as just a psycho action 80s movie with a very 80s plot of, oh, well, what's the main villain's, key thing he's trying to do that's bad for the world? Well, drugs. That's
right.
Like, so many 80s movies. Drugs.
just the drugs, the bad drugs.
Winners don't use drugs. Right? Like on those what was it? That was like FBI sponsored or something, wasn't it? On those
Something
old
like
arcade machines.
Yeah.
But and Dalton pulls it off because he's so intense. And well, I can't really say he looks more comfortable. He looks super comfortable at both of them to me. Like, because he's playing in such a different manner. But yeah, like, you got heads exploding, you get shark bites, you get all kinds of crazy stuff in this movie. But it's so fun, like, and like the setting being, down in Miami and stuff. It's just, it's very 80s, but it's very colorful and big. It's just, yeah, I really enjoy watching the movie. And I know it is not a favorite of a lot of people, but I really have a fun time watching it.
I do as well. And it is unrepentantly 80s. It is unabashedly 80s. It is just, it's like, yeah, what's to you?
Yeah.
Like, it is, it was surprising in a certain way to be like, oh, I really like this. This goes a bit different than what you would expect for a Bond thing. But you know what? It still has those sprinkling moments of it.
Yep.
It's in there.
Yep.
Like, just, like the middle chunk of the film. You want your Bond stuff? just cut out the beginning part and the end part. Just watch the middle part of the film. You're before people start going pop in the oven.
Yeah.
Like there's your Bond.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And because you get the sniper scene, right? And when you put in the cigarettes and stuff, and that feels very similar to that beginning part of Living Daylights. And Dalton's just so cool with that stuff. Like, he just plays it so well. And I think because of that look on his face, like Dalton's rested face has a bit of an intensity to it.
Yes,
so
it does.
when he is in an intense moment, you really feel that as a viewer. So yeah, and I like the sort of, he's trying to play Sanchez, right? And so he's sort of undercover, but
that first introduction, I know we talked about it during the review of it, just that back and forth of, oh, Bond, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
What are you doing, buddy? But it's so, like, such a cool, tense moment. Where it's just,
right. Yeah, and like the female leads are good in that movie. Like I wouldn't say they have to be believable necessarily, but they're capable, right? They are capable. And then who's the slime ball, the sub
Benicio's character.
No, not Dario. The other guy, the slime ball. When she's like, "You're Borracho," that guy that comes in, the mustache, whose head pops.
Yeah, who pops? Oh god.
Oh, he's such a good slime ball, right? Actually, so many of them are so good at being slimy in the movie. Like basically all the villains are. They're so good.
It's not Archer. What is his name?
It's okay. I can't remember either. But yeah, I love just the flow of the movie and just how intense it is. And the only thing is, I wish that last fight was just a little bit more drawn out. Like they get off the truck and it's a little quick and over and done with kind of quickly. But unfortunately,
yeah. But I mean, you get that big truck.
Yeah, like the whole chase scene is cool, but I just mean the actual Sanchez showdown is kind of short.
Right.
And same thing with Living Daylights, unfortunately, actually, too. But
yeah,
if you told me you were going to put Living Daylights in this spot, I wouldn't argue with it. But I just have a little bit more fun with the License.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair, I guess. But you know what? You can be like me and just put them both in. Because I totally did.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I had a hard time leaving it off. And like I could tell you 3-4 years ago, Living Daylights wouldn't have been on my list.
Well, I mean, yeah, like
License to Kill was, but Living Daylights wasn't. And it's much closer today than it was before.
Right. I think we're License to Kill. Yeah, it's just those outer edges are not very Bond-esque. With the Living Daylights, it's very Bond-esque. But then the like the trouble with a lot of Bond films that last 15, 20 minutes or so, kinda.
Right.
But I can still overlook that for the Living Daylights.
Yep.
It is just this was so delicious. And it pains me, on both sides, not getting a third film with GoldenEye, or starting it a little early because we got scared because Connery was making Thunderball 2 Water Boogaloo.
Electric Thongaloo.
I am so just beside myself that they had to do that.
Yeah.
But by golly gee, these two films are so enjoyable to me.
Yeah.
And at least they can't be taken away from me outside of breaking the discs that they are printed on.
He will not be erased from history.
Right. It's just
yeah. I mean, that opening of Living Daylights in Gibraltar is so good. And I was rewatching a thing that was talking about Dalton, and I mean, I know we talked about him doing some of the stunts and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
So when that truck is on the edge of that mountain, that is still him. And he's barely, and did you know they barely attached him to that truck? That he is actually just physically hanging on.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness. How did he not, like, I'm shocked that the studio was allowed that to happen, right? To be like, what if this guy dies?
I don't think Cubby was too keen on that. When he seen this stuff going on, he's like, what are you doing? You psycho. Please stop.
Yeah, but it's just so good. Yeah, it's like if, Jackie Chan is one thing, right? Like, because the guy has his own studio, he has his own team and all this stuff, but to just bring in an actor that doesn't quite have the
professional
natural training, to do that. It just adds so much. But just also his intro. It's so subtle, but it's done so well. Just like those three, agents, they skydive down. You don't know which one is potentially Bond, and then just how they get killed off. Was it the Depth of Spies tag and everything?
What is that smear?
So good. It's so
good.
Him. Yeah, it's just so good.
Yeah. So yeah, I will be greedy, both Dalton films will be and are in my top 7.
Very nice.
Darn it.
Now, would you say 5 to 10 years ago that would have been true?
Oh,
A
absolutely
true
not.
statement?
No.
Very
No.
nice.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll kind of keep this light, and I don't think this one is on your list from our previous discussion, but Tomorrow Never Dies is on my list. I don't know what it is about this movie. It's probably
Is this the
Michelle
one that you
Yeoh.
mentioned?
It's probably
that was
Michelle Yeoh.
the personal one that was, or
It
is
is
that?
not.
Okay. Did you
But
already mention that?
No, I have not.
Okay.
But I also know that this one typically does not end up on most people's preferred list. I don't know what it is, but there's so much. I like a lot of the action here. I think Brosnan looks even more comfortable and he's really good in GoldenEye. Don't get me wrong, but he feels a little more rounded out by this movie, like just in his performance. It's not too much into the personalized Bond, that we get in the final two. It's not quite there yet. This is still a bit more just happy-go-lucky secret agent type stuff going on. But I really, really love this movie. I can watch this movie pretty much any time because it's just straight action fare. There are elements that are not great, like Stamper is fine as a villain, but not really that compelling. Carver's kind of the same thing, other than the message being very relevant still.
Right.
Or like his whole plot being relevant. But I love the who's that guy? The professor, whatever, that comes to the professional assassin that they hire. What do they call him? The doctor or something?
Dr.
Kaufman or something?
Yeah.
Is it Kaufman? Something like that.
Something sounds.
But just that interaction, that whole 3-4 minute interaction is excellent. And again, Michelle Yeoh, I don't know what else to say. She's so good. Other than the fact that they don't really have a romantic chemistry, I find their action chemistry is quite good. And then the motorcycle chase scene is probably my favorite vehicle chase scene out of any movie. So yeah, Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay.
Except for the theme song. Go away.
Well, I will borrow a page from your book, and I don't know how people feel about this one personally, but I really enjoy The World's Not Enough. Personalized or not. By golly gee, Sophie Marceau.
Yes.
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 Please and thank you.
Yes.
There's just something about it. This is like the where GoldenEye kind of ushered in a lot of people into, or a lot of people our age into the whole Bond ordeal, we'll say.
Ordeal.
The World's Not Enough almost felt like this was the for those who kind of came in with GoldenEye. Maybe, yeah, like it just kind of feels like it was really geared towards those people. That, and I don't think the game gets enough credit for itself. I actually really like the game.
On the blue cart?
Yeah.
Well, some are on a gray cart as well, but I think the first prints are on the blue cart or something.
I had the blue cart. I'm trying to think that, and I think Madden 98 had a blue cart as well or something.
There was a green cart, and then Donkey Kong 64 had a yellow cart. A couple other games.
Yeah. But I just, it's not the most amazing, and Renard.
Yeah, that's too bad because Robert Carlyle's a good actor, right? He just kind of gets glazed over.
But that's okay, Sophie Marceau.
Yes, Sophie Marceau.
That's
had it not been Sophie Marceau, I'd probably be more disappointed that he gets glazed over. But yeah, she's so good in this movie. Yeah,
she makes the film. That, and also being able to swim to catch up to a diving submarine.
Well, first of all, diving towards a submarine and then catching it.
We'll just gloss over that.
Hey, it was just a prequel of things to come, so.
Yeah, evidently.
Racing space lasers, punching space lasers. whatever else happens in that
It
movie.
it is it's one that personally I can enjoy.
Mm. So
And
it sounds like we're on the same page, just that I'm on Tomorrow Never Dies and
you're
you're
a
on.
movie early.
And I don't mind Tomorrow Never Dies. I really don't. Like, there's a lot of elements that I'm
Oh,
just
you
like,
mean the world's not
sorry, the
enough?
world is not enough. Sorry,
Yeah.
but I'm just like, yeah, the Christmas Jones stuff. It just really falls apart quick.
Nah,
Unfortunately.
I get you.
And not Denise Richards' fault, right? But just like, it's like, oh
Right.
yeah, that really falls off a cliff really quick.
Mm.
And then Robert Carlyle not being used well as Renard, and there are a few things that you're just like, I don't really like the being in the tube on the sort of mini, what is that? That, not a train, but just that. Oh gosh, what do they call it when they're in the oil tube?
Yeah, the cart.
The cart.
Oh,
thing, yeah.
that thing.
Yeah, and then like
the
pipeline.
pipeline.
I'm like, there's parts that I'm like, yeah, I don't really like it. And the giant buzz saw and all. So there are things I don't like about it, but there are some really good elements for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, the boat chase is really good, right? That's pretty cool, and so it is a good film. And I would definitely watch it if it was on TV, but it's not maybe like, oh, yep, I'm grabbing that one to be.
Yeah, I think, we're just flipped in how we feel about those two. So.
I think so.
Yeah, all right, then this is your last one?
I have two.
How do you have two and I have? Oh, I think
because I crossed off one of yours, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yep. I will go with this one, and then I'll leave my kind of very personal pick last.
Okay.
I have no idea if this is on your list, but I really came around on this movie, and I was like, I have to put this movie in here. And that is For Your Eyes Only.
That was my last one. Yep.
Oh, very nice. It's. I think we talked about this. I, for the life of me, could not remember this movie whatsoever until we watched it. Mm. And even now, I can feel it fleeting, having not watched it, because it's such a.
But Topol popping pistachios. Come on now.
Yeah, well, he's popping a lot of pistachios. And yeah, it's so. It's a movie I need to watch, I think, several times in the near future, just so that it'll really solidify itself in my memory. I think there's just absolutely no nostalgia for this movie because I didn't see it much, and I'd always see it in chunks and never really advertised strongly, like that it was, it's going to be on TV and stuff, right? You just kind of catch it.
Right.
But it surprised me, and I know when we talked, I think it surprised you too.
Yes.
At just how mature it was coming off of all those other goofy antics in those Roger Moore movies.
Well, yeah, to follow Moonraker of all movies.
Which they could have just kept jumping off, right? And just being like, we're just going to keep falling down that pit of despair.
Well, I mean, to be fair, that they were pretty cognizant to be like, okay, we've gone to space. It was silly. Let's bring this back down to Earth. And I mean, I know you don't like Octopussy, which follows this movie, but if anything, it is sandwiched between a completely bonkers film and, for a lot of people, probably a very bland film to really, really hit it with this one. Like I mentioned before, Topol's in it, which is just a delight.
Yep.
I mean, every time he would be on screen, I would start, humming If I Were a Rich Man, which is totally unfair to him, but I cannot help it. But, it is a very strong film. Like even the I guess you'd say the torture scene is not bad, a little weird. Kind of thinking outside the box on that one, but
fighting off hockey players. There's a couple of goofy things, but they don't feel so extreme compared to a lot of the other stuff.
Right. I mean, BB's like, how to describe her as anything other than just awful. like he's just like
comic relief, I guess, was the intention, I presume. But sure. But even then, it's as annoying as it is, and it doesn't detract enough to be. Oh yeah.
Well, like that, but also
that movie.
More is kindly enough in this film to be like, you can stay over there, girl.
Yeah. What does he say at one point? Let's go get you some ice cream.
Well, I think it's a nice touch of, like highlighting that character of Bond that is in there that does get pointed out about how he likes the quote unquote challenge of women.
Yeah.
Which some people might not appreciate.
Yep.
I do appreciate in this aspect because it's like, oh, this isn't even a challenge. This is gross.
Yeah.
Stay away.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just his playing up to his age more so in this movie as well, just on the whole, not even just with that character, but just that mentor aspect. Roger Moore deserves a lot of credit, I feel, for this movie. He probably doesn't get it because everyone just thinks of, if they really enjoy the goofy stuff that happens in the other movies with him, that's what they enjoy about Roger Moore's performance as Bond. And this is so on a pendulum, not quite all the way to, like, say, Craig, being super serious the whole way through. But it's enough that you're thinking, I wish there was a couple more movies with more showing like a bit more of this range. Yeah, like this. Right. Like even if Octopussy was played a bit closer to this in both script and in his performance, I probably would enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But they didn't go obviously quite to Moonraker levels of silliness, but it starts to go pretty far back towards, say, like a Golden Gun or whatever. So. Yeah. Well, I'm quite pleased to hear that you did put that one on your list, and that Roger Moore wasn't shut out from your top 7.
I was. It would have been easy to just completely close my heart off and be like, no, go away. But no, I can give it Dalton too. I can at least give Moore one.
Yeah, I think so. Fair enough. Okay, well, my last one is, again, probably one of the more, I don't know if it's despised, but it's certainly not liked by many. And I kind of already hinted at when we talked about this movie, since it was our last film before No Time to Die, and that's You Only Live Twice. I cannot put my finger on what it is about this movie that I enjoyed. There are lots of things that I know people point out as, this is bad, this is horrible, this is...
Henderson dying. That's what really put it over the top for
you. Maybe.
No?
Well, only because he comes back as a different character. I really wish they would have addressed that. That would have made a lot of sense for Bond to recognize him and be like, Henderson, like that's all it would have taken, right?
Right.
And then him to pretend that accent before going into the Blofeld accent. Right, so that would have, I would have really appreciated that, honestly. But no, I can't. I like the soundtrack of the movie so much that I found a cheap copy and ended up sending it to you when I probably should have kept it for myself. But it's all good.
Hey, I like the music. It's just,
the soundtrack's good.
The movie just didn't quite...
No, I get it. No, a lot of people don't like this movie. It ends up being usually, if not the bottom 5, it's usually like bottom 3 for most people.
See, I don't think it's that bad. Like,
I just think they're like, oh, it's culturally appropriating and this and I see all of those elements and see like, the discomfort of Connery pretending to be, he's a Japanese man and those kind of, I get all that for sure. And I'm not disagreeing with it, but I mean, and the climax, it builds up really good, being like, you're finally meeting Blofeld and you get, he gets that great, you only live twice line.
Right.
And then it kind of peters out really quick, right? So I know there's lots of things not good about
Let me kill you, but wait until we get over here because reasons.
Yeah. Die, Mr. Bond. And then gets hit with a shuriken in the wrist. I wish that was Wei Lin that hit him with that. a young Wei Lin. Hits him in the wrist with that, and does the same pose with her boot. It hits him in the wrist. But it just, I don't know what it is. I mean, this is the first movie I ever bought with my own money.
Yeah.
The first Bond movie, that I ever bought with my own money. So I think that's probably a big part of it. And I remember watching this at like 2:00 in the morning on television, syndicated television or whatever. And it's just a big nostalgia factor for sure.
That's fair. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's bottom 3.
Bottom
It's certainly
half,
in my
at
bottom
least.
7.
Yeah. Okay. Bottom half, at least.
But it's not that it's awful. It's just, I think my issues more so with it's just the pacing of it.
Yep.
Feels really, really sluggish. And I think that a lot of it has to do with everything going on behind the scenes as opposed to the actual film itself.
Yeah, no, I could see that.
Yeah, I think that really hurts it a lot. So.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, we're gonna segue into this bottom 7 part, and I'm like I said, You Only Live Twice is in my bottom 7.
Okay. Did you have anything else you want to kind of add then as to why?
Well,
Other
other
than
than just saying, yeah, that sluggishness, as much as lamenting not having him there to do on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Yeah, it is completely fair that Connor is like, yeah, I'm good. Go away. But yeah, it is certainly unfortunate. And other than that, yeah, I like the theme song at the end.
Fair enough. Okay, so for my bottom 7, again, not necessarily in any specific order.
Right.
So I'm going to just put this one out quick because I want to get it over with. And not because I really, really despise it, but it is in my bottom 7, and that is Moonraker.
Hey, that one is as well.
Okay. Because, I know we laugh and joke, and it is just a fun ride to be for all the wrong reasons, right? Like, it's just such a stupid movie. So, and that's fun. Like, it can be fun just to watch. But to take it as a serious Bond entry is very hard to do.
Right.
I have heard some people say, this is my top 5 and whatever, and I don't know if it's because they truly believe it as a really good
They've just
movie.
lied to themselves.
I don't know.
There's
a rather prominent Bond YouTuber that I believe that's his favorite movie. And again, it might be because it's his first Bond movie. Like, there's probably elements as to why, right? Just as much as You Only Live Twice. I don't think I've ever met anybody who's really like, oh yeah, I like that one. So, so I get it, but again, and this is not at the bottom because it's crap. It's just such a dumb movie, but it is fun for sure. But it is in my bottom 7.
I mean, bottom 7, that's still a fairly decent range if a couple of them are pretty awful. Like, yeah, it's just that, what they do to Jaws.
Yeah.
It's just baffling.
Skydives without a parachute. Survives.
These good old space lasers.
Yeah.
It's a Thunderball in space.
Yes.
With that. And,
it is.
No. Just no.
Well, here's to us.
Yeah. It's just, it is, like you said, it's stupid. And if you can tolerate stupid, by all means, enjoy the film. I can tolerate stupid, but I can't do it for film like this. Just like, no. So, speaking of Thunderball, that's also in my bottom 7.
That's in my bottom 7 too.
Yeah, like
it's just boring.
It's so boring. Like,
because Domino's pretty interesting character, but
that is true. I think you pointed it out about her outfits.
Or I think you did actually. I don't think it was.
Did I do it?
I think you did.
Look at me. Look how
gracious.
Sure
you did.
Trying to credit you for my own.
No, I'm quite sure you did.
Just like, it's a clever thing to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, like that. I mean, but she's no Sophie Marceau to really uplift this movie. Like, it's just, yeah.
No, and she's not that. I mean, she's prominent in the movie, but not maybe quite as much, right? Like, just as Sophie Marceau plays a massive role in The World Is Not Enough. So.
Right. So it's just a boring film, and it baffles me that they made a second version of this, and it's further befuddles me, mind you. I understand it's a money thing. It's trying to keep the license thing. But in the same hand, part of me would have secretly have now wanted to see this is a Timothy Dalton version of this in the whatever it was, late 90s, early 2000s. Holy crap, would that have been something stupid? Like,
well, I heard Brosnan was in talks with what's the name of the guy that owns the rights to it?
McClory,
McClory, yeah. I heard Brosnan because he was when Dalton got picked, and because he was the Remington Steele and all that issue, that he went to him and was like, I'll just make my own Bond movie. I'll just go to him. And thank goodness Brosnan didn't end up in that either, right? Because we wouldn't have got GoldenEye the way we did, and of course it would have been nice to have Dalton, but just, yeah, I can't imagine him in that movie either. Like, that movie's just so hard to sell. Like, it's just, yeah, Thunderball, I don't know. There's so many elements about it that are fine, but as a whole, it just ends up being a very plodding, slow-paced film.
Yeah, it's just a bore.
Yeah,
it just feels like there's not a lot at stake.
Yeah,
I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah. Well, and they really want to build up Largo and being number one and all that stuff, and it's too bad that he doesn't. He comes across as being a villainous type person, but not enough to be like basically the second in command kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah, anyways, it's in both of our lists, so it's looking like we are crossing the bridge at the same time on a lot of these still. In many of these categories.
Right. Not surprising.
Yeah, not really.
So, all right, back to you.
Okay. Sorry, I've been crossing stuff off. I'm worried I've just crossed off an additional one that I don't have 7 now.
And you should have...
6. No, I do, sorry. It's just
okay.
I have a very small piece of paper that's getting very messy.
Tisk.
Okay, well, you already know this one, so I'll just put this one out there because I have some others that I don't think are on your list. I don't think this is on your list necessarily, but Octopussy, just go away. I don't even want to. I find that movie just dumb.
Really?
Dumb at all the wrong points.
Bottom 7.
Boring.
Man.
Yeah, bottom 7. It's bottom 7. I told you I can't remember what score I gave it.
You gave it a pretty awful one.
Yeah, it was pretty awful.
I think I had to try to coax you out of
a 1 or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need Roger Moore in a clown suit. I don't need Roger Moore
as
a
monkey. I need Roger Moore in a clown suit. I need him to be a gorilla. I needed those.
I'm surprised he didn't cosplay as Jaws in this movie. Like, the Octopussy character is semi-intriguing. Like, the actual character.
I guess.
And I think she's not... her and Moore have decent chemistry. I'll give that as well. And I like Gobinda. He was on my list for henchman or whatever.
Right.
But Khan is just kind of wasted, right? Like, he's trying to puff out his chest like he's some big deal, but constantly gets regulated to the side, even though he's the main villain. The goofy sort of circus stuff, and yeah, it doesn't do anything for me. I would pass on it if you're like, yeah, let's sit down and watch Octopussy. I'd be really like, can we watch something else?
Please.
Like, please. Like, let's find something else.
That's not in my bottom 7.
I didn't think it would be.
Okay with this film.
Yeah, I just need to remember.
Middling.
I'm very glad that Timothy Dalton is not the lead in Octopussy.
Yeah, I wonder how that would have changed things up.
Yeah, like if things had changed a significant amount, but even just the title being, so dumb, and if it was Dalton in that one, yeah, I'm glad it's not Dalton. I could eat him better off as A View to a Kill or GoldenEye, right? So, yeah, but anyways, Octopussy. Back to you.
All right. Well, I'll go with one that probably isn't on your list and maybe a shock, but the most recent one, No Time to Die.
No, it's not that surprising because I know you didn't like it. So
yeah, well, I meant, I guess in the sense, I was very vocal about it,
yeah.
disliking it, because it's not like it's a bad film, and I think I stated that there. It's like it's not a bad film. There's some really cool, nifty things in it. It is just not a very interesting Bond film to me. I'm over I was very much over Vesper and Company
Mm-hmm.
movies ago.
Mm-hmm.
It just if it did not take close to, if it
3
didn't take
hours or
like,
whatever.
no, I mean in
Oh,
the sense
sorry.
of if it did not take like 15 years
Mm.
to get to this point,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be one thing. But I guess that's also part of the needling that irks me with this is,
Mm-hmm.
mind you, that it'll probably soften as time goes on, but it's still fresh enough to where it's like, oh, this doesn't feel like it is really that well warranted. Like I'm very much in the mindset of like with Ernest Hemingway's, like, you follow a story long enough, yeah, somebody's gonna die. Like that's all stories end in death kind of thing. Like, it's not to me, that's not nearly as of an interesting aspect to it. Especially because it's because it's just the titular character kind of thing. So it's just like, whatever. Yeah, it just, and who knows, maybe it won't feel long still watching it again at some point, but like I just didn't care for the villain. Yeah, it's just wasn't just I'm one of those people who has a type of hunger that if say I am hankering to eat a tuna sandwich, but I try to fill it with something else, I'll still be hungry because I want that tuna sandwich, and that's what this film did. So it just did not satiate.
Calories.
It did not satiate my hunger. So
that's fair. I don't think it's surprising. Just again after we watched it and your kind of reflection.
Yeah, you yelled at me. You yelled at me for being vulgar.
Well, that too, but that was for different, But you do seem to fall in the camp that this movie sounds very divisive from the things I've kind of read and seen, and I'm not one to be qualified to comment on all of that, but just from what I have seen, it does seem to be very divisive. The middle ground is very little. There's a lot of just, wow, I really was impressed with the performance and blah, 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 I really liked it. And then there seems to be a larger portion of people that really despised the movie or did not care for it. And I'm somewhere in the middle, which is, again, very uncommon opinion. Seems it's very much one or the other. So, and I'm like, yeah, there's things I like about it. There's things that I don't like about it. And I'm leaning a little more to the positive as we talked, but I could definitely see why it was in your bottom 7.
So, yeah, back to you.
Okay. I know there's one more coming. That's if you're feeling lucky and you want to get a lotto ticket, you can expect this one to be on there. So I'm saving that one. I'm going to pick one that you probably have, but you might not. Okay. I'm not sure, but just trying to remember your thoughts on it. But Diamonds Are Forever is in my bottom 7.
See, it is not like it's not nearly as painfully unenjoyable as what I like. I think I like, even just from watching it when we had tried to do that recording the first time and then lost it, and then the second one, I think I've softened on it in the interim on that one. Like it's like I actually don't mind it. Like it kind of it's the movie that makes me go, wow, I really wish he would have done on Her Majesty's because just to have the whole thing there.
I just wish he would have done On Her Majesty's instead of Diamonds. It's just I don't know what it is about this movie. Just something feels off about Connery. Everyone talks about how in You Only Live Twice he was all checked out and everything. I feel like he's even more checked out in Diamonds Are Forever. Like he could care less about anything he's doing in the movie. Everything's so nonchalant. Remember when he was like, "Stop, Mr. Bond, put your hands up," and how he does that stupid like lazy hand gesture, only for those Spectre agents to have those helmets with lightning bolts on them. because they lost the license. They had to make them so nondescript.
It is insulting. You have this movie in the bottom 7 just for the
No, it's not
slow motion fake moon landing scene. This is a travesty. This is an hour.
Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd are very good in them. I agreed with your opinion on that before. It's really good. But Blofeld is, put me down when he's in the mini sub thing that looks like an arrowhead or whatever that is.
Right.
And how they don't even cut to him after. Remember, like swings it randomly into a part of the oil rig, and then it's not like he blew up or anything. They just don't show him for the rest of the movie. He's just edited him out for some reason. And then the mouse trap in his pocket. I mean, when your best two things are how cool he looks standing on top of an elevator at a distance in the evening, and Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd, that's not good. That's not good.
That elevated it.
He almost gets cremated.
Yeah.
Just there's so many dumb things. He falls on the throne at one point. Tiffany Case. Tiffany Case is terrible. She has to be one of the worst Bond female leads.
She's not great.
She's terrible. She's not as bad as one that's about to get slaughtered here in the meat grinder. What does he say in Predator? You say, drop the 6 of us in the meat grinder. Well, there's one coming in the meat grinder here pretty quick, but she's terrible. She starts out interesting enough and competent for a 25-second scene, and then bang, goes straight to Dimwitsville. Like, has no intelligence. Like, all of her television just
straight to stupid
immediately flies out the window.
I don't know. It's one of those. You have your Yolt. Diamonds Are Forever for whatever reason.
Yeah, but Diamonds Are Forever is not in your top 7 though. At least
no, it's not. That is true. Same thing with Octopussy. I can enjoy that film.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
Your diamonds are for a while instead of diamonds are forever.
The diamonds are kind of just there, sort of, for a little bit.
Yeah.
Before they need a bum of smoke and then head out.
All right. So what else we got? I've got. I take that one off. That gives me. I've still got 3 in hand.
So yeah, because I started us off.
And there's one that we both are.
We got to save that one for last.
Oh yes.
Well, I guess it'd be last on my end, but this one I'll put out there. And it probably came across when we did the review for it, Die Another Day.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Like,
I don't mind. I have fun with that one. So,
well, it's another one of those stupid funs, but
stupid.
Not a lot. I guess my stupid fun is reserved for Diamonds Are Forever. We can't like both of them.
And even though we were talking about how Die Another Day is basically Diamonds Are Forever in Iceland. Very similar. Distilled
down to its very pristine.
Because Gustav Graves is, they remade his face. It's just the same as Blofeld, right? It's not different. Like, the only thing that would have made that movie they should have had Pierce Brosnan trap a guy in a giant mouse trap from his pocket, no less. He stops the entire North Korean army in a giant mouse trap in his pocket.
But yeah, it's just
That's fair. A lot of people don't like that movie. So
it is just not. Yeah, and
Rosamund Pike is wasted in that movie.
That she is.
Although she does get that, God, you're impossible. That she does have that one scene with Pierce that's pretty good, and when she tears a strip off him. What is that? That's a pleasure you'll never have.
You're right.
Oh, that's so good. You got to admit there was a couple of like we even agreed on his delivery of So You Live to Die Another. There's a few things that are that are okay, but as a whole, yes, it's not.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's just one of those things where the pieces parts do not add up well enough. Yeah, I don't really care for that chase scene / the repeating going in loop to loop sort of fashion.
Yeah.
It makes it really disorienting because it's like this place isn't that big.
Right.
What is going on? It's like
so like the one that Tomorrow Never Dies feels like it's a little too long for sure, like the car park scene, but it's like, okay, I guess, there would be several floors and you can kind of, your imagination can allow for that, right? Whereas when you see the Ice Palace, it is a little bit harder to believe that there would be that many corridors to drive through. And
it's like, this is the 8th story. This thing was only like a story and a half.
Right.
Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, no, for sure.
So yeah, it's just no.
Yep. No, I think that's fair. Yeah,
I don't honestly hate Jinx. I think I said that before.
I really dislike Jinx. So.
Yeah, I just don't. Like, I like Halle Berry. She just doesn't. It's just not great.
It's too bad. Yeah, like, because obviously Halle Berry can carry a film right on her own.
Oh yeah.
So it's just too bad that she's
having too
into
much
this.
Fun.
Yeah, she's having too much fun. Yeah. Well, and as is Pierce, right? Like, Pierce is having a lot of fun too. Like, you can see that they're having a good time making the movie and everything, but it's just, what was it? His quote that we had talked about, right? They were trying to hit all those check boxes, right? Of having nostalgia and being goofy and serious, and like they were just trying to do way too much, and it just ends up falling all apart on all ends as a result.
I liked what you had said about it. It's like, too bad we just didn't have Hobo Pierce. The whole it's just unshaved.
Oh, he looks cool like that. He looks because like even today he's got the beard. He looks awesome.
Right.
It's a good look for him.
Mm.
Yep. No, that's fair. Okay. So
back to you.
I'm gonna probably take some flack for these next two picks because these tend to be much beloved, and I don't know why. But the first one I'm gonna put out there is Skyfall. Skyfall's in my other one. Bottom 7. Like,
I had that on there as well.
To this day, I don't know how everyone's like, oh, this is the best Craig movie. It's got great pacing. It's got the best villain. It's got this and that. And it's like, it's got 2.5 hours of bore. Like, there's nothing happens in this movie. It's boring. Like, it's, like the whole Shanghai thing is okay-ish. I like the idea. Remember, they were trying to make that be kind of a lonely, like, sequence of the film and all that. I was like, okay, like I interesting concepts here. There are some interesting concepts going on, and going to the deserted island and so forth. But then they get all the creepy stuff, like with him going in the shower with, what was her name? Severin? Or what was the female lead name? Seren? It's gone. I can't remember. But then, like, I find the Macau sequence terrible, the Komodo dragon and all that stuff, and just, there's just so much I don't like about this movie that I don't understand why everyone else likes. The opening part is good. Like, I do like the up to the train and falling off the train, and even that sequence with him just kind of falling down the drain. Like, they show him fall down the drain even in the in the credits. Right. But just like, his whole life spiraled out, that he just kind of gave up on everything. And then as soon as he's back to active service, it's just like the whole movie's boring.
Well, and this is also the part where it, in the films where it's like, it feels like it just kind of hits a repeat. It's like, oh, I'm too old for this.
Disavowed.
Oh.
You're back in service. Disavowed. Right. You're back in service.
I mean, and I know they did that
Pierce
throughout. Yeah. And it's just kind of like, you literally had 2 films that were back to back, as in 15 minutes apart.
Yes, direct sequels.
Kind of, right. It'd be one thing if that second film was like a different mission going on, but it's, our 2 films is pretty much one very long, continuous mission.
Right.
Into this one where it's like, I'm good, I'm done.
Right.
Like, really? This is tonally just stupid. It's just not a strong way to go. I don't care for the Skyfall portion at the end. It's just kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Like, the whole Silva thing is just dumb. At
precisely 3:15 on Wednesday, December 6th, a train will fall on you, Mr. Bond.
Fa, 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 fa.
Yeah, he's too. It's ridiculous how far ahead of the curve he is with everything. Like it's too perfect, right? All of his plans until they're not perfect.
Yeah, until they're not. Yeah. It's just, and it's an awful film, and I will stick by the kind of overplayed heavy-handedness of it's more about M than it really is about Bond to some degree, and I'm just kind of like, Judi Dench, great, love you, but like, no, like this is like just, I don't know, just doesn't feel appropriate.
Yeah, no, it's bottom 7. I don't know. Yeah, I like hearing when people talk like why they like the movie, just because it's interesting to hear that opposite side of the spectrum. But I can't agree. Like I don't agree with the points that I always hear about. Oh, the intrigue of how Silva, had been staging his life to plan. Yeah, just no, I don't. And the trailer kind of killed this movie, and that's for me, and that's pretty rare that I let a trailer kind of affect my overall opinion. But I thought they did a really good job of executing the trailer and then trying to get you intrigued about the whole Skyfall thing when he walks away, and it's executed okay in the movie. But then once you get to what the reveal of all that is, and you're just like, what? Like, that's the payoff?
Skyfall's the one that, like, put me off of watching. Like, it wasn't until we started doing this that, like, I was like, I'm not, I really have, yeah, I don't really, and at least Spectre's not a bottom 7.
No, Spectre's not.
No Time to Die is also on there. So, really, I would say that I would prefer watching No Time to Die more than Skyfall, because Skyfall is not. Yeah, I don't like that's it. It's probably my second least favorite of the Bond films.
Oh well.
That's those others that I mentioned. It just rubs me the wrong way in a lot of different aspects, and it's just like no.
Yep. Fair enough.
So.
Okay, well, we do know what that bottom one is. So the other one I have on my bottom 7, and I didn't think it would be on yours, but I know we both don't care for this movie. I guess just my dislike of this movie seems to be stronger, and that is The Spy Who Loved Me. I had a hell of a time trying to sit through that movie, and all those people being like, it's by far the best Bond movie. And I'm like, no. Just because you get a really fascinating stunt at the beginning of the movie does not make this a good movie. I don't understand. Everyone's like, oh, Triple X is the perfect foil for Bond. No, they have no chemistry whatsoever. Are you watching the same movie? Those actors have no chemistry. Not at all.
But Carl.
She's far too doe-eyed and just lost in space all the time. And Roger Moore's always just, see, a man can do it better. Like, no, this is not a good... Go watch Casino Royale and tell me that The Spy Who Loved Me has a better, double lead tandem. No, it doesn't. It's terrible. It's bad. It's not good. And then
Carl's in it.
Carl. I mean, like you said, you did make a good point. Like, Carl's plan is like, okay, I kind of see what he's going for, but it's like, you plan on living under the ocean.
It's so pretty and beautiful. The world is pristine. Yeah, because you nuked the planet. Yeah. Of course, underwater is going to be pretty and beautiful.
We have a bunch of radioactive fish to eat.
Right.
But yeah. Carl, and his death is just, wow, that's pathetic. He gets shot through a random tube that is still also blocked by his gun.
Stay right there, Bond, while I conveniently grab under the table. You don't know. You really don't?
What's that? That reminds me of The Simpsons, where it's like eyes on the floor, when Homer's naked and his butt's rubbing against the glass window of the church. It's like Carl being like, eyes on the left hand, Mr. Bond, eyes on the left hand. Continue to watch the left hand. It is a pretty butterfly, Mr. Bond, and he's shadow puppets over here. Oh, just like Carl. Like why didn't Carl get eaten by piranha like in You Only Live Twice? Like something like that I would at least laughed at that, but no. And then he falls face first into a salad. Chokes on salad with the last bit of life that he has left.
I would say it. I don't know. I certainly don't hate it as much as you, obviously.
I said I don't mind the sub stuff to some degree. Is kind of interesting. Like I didn't mind some of that.
Well, it's like it starts to pivot in the same direction of like For Your Eyes Only, but then it fumbles it all the way.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just why it comes off as so insulting. It's like you had some pretty neat stuff here, and then you do this.
Yeah, or like the reveal that Bond killed the other Russian agent, and she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. Oh well, after the mission, I'll kill you." And just, oh, get out of here. Like it's just so dumb. Like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. I need to kill you. And then at the end, him just basically winking at her, and she's like, "Oh, I forgive you." And
keep the British end up.
Yeah, and then you got to get the chorus. Nobody does. Oh, jeez. Is this the one with the ski jumpers in the opening credits too? Or is this the? Or no, this is not the ski. This is the trampoline experts.
Trampoline one, yeah.
Because I'm thinking of that. What's that? Alan Partridge or whatever, and he's like, I'm a naked girl, I'm turning." That I would watch that 17 times in a row because that's actually pretty funny. No, quit getting Bond wrong. That's far more interesting and amusing to watch than this entire film.
But Carl.
Yeah, well. Oh, jeez, yeah.
Just to make you feel better,
it's just like a crap version of Thunderball, basically, in a lot of ways. Like the car is cool, the Lotus is cool. Like that's pretty impressive. Cool. Like that car is pretty cool and stuff, right? And is this the first movie with the drunk guy that shows up in all the movies? Is this the first?
He's in this one.
Is he in?
He's
Golden Gun first, or is this the first? I think this is the first, because then he's in Moonraker.
No, because he's only in the 3, I think.
Yeah, so it's this, then Moonraker, and then
For
Your Eyes Only. So yeah, this is the first one with that reoccurring goofball character.
So...
Yeah. Just... I don't know what else to say about this movie. It's just... Yeah, I really don't understand how people fight for this movie and say, like, this is the ultimate Bond movie because it has humor and it has this and that. I'm like, no, it's a dumb movie. It's a dumb movie. I don't like this movie.
You've made that very clear.
Yes. I actually, you know what? This probably is at my bottom. The movie that we both have in the bottom 7 is not in my bottom.
Wow.
Bottoms
wow.
up. Well, we both know what it is, so I'll let you take the reins.
So, that's the man with the golden gun. Like,
I mean, when Bottoms
nipples.
Up is in the movie, it has to be in your bottoms.
Third nipples, some Peppers action.
Not only third nipples, but how he just peels it off and doesn't use it again.
Just tosses it.
I wish one of those monkeys in the jungle would have whipped it right back in his face or something, right on his forehead.
Oh, yeah, it's just not even death-defying ramps over the river.
Which, I mean, again, obviously unbelievable stunt, but gets ruined by the slide whistle. Unreal stunt, though. Like, full credit to that team to put that together. That's just unreal.
Right.
That's not.
Yeah, it's just awful. It's yeah, like
There are a couple of decent things. I know we both like the sort of way that the half sunken ship in Hong Kong Harbor is used.
Yeah.
As like that's pretty cool, and the whole set piece there is well done, right? With the sort of angled walkways and stuff like that. That is kind of cool. There are some few things here and there that you're like, oh, yeah, these really fit with the Bond motif and are good. But it just it goes haywire quick, right? We went from Live and Let Die, where you had those mystique elements that you could kind of chuckle at and things like that were a bit odd, and then it starts to just jump 2 feet into random goofiness as quickly
goofiness
as it
and just
can.
kind of like
lack
just
of
kind
cohesion,
awfulness. I mean,
it's just awful.
It's such a weird thing how to have it, and I wonder if it is because of the quick turnaround from Live and Let Die to like that's what like I've got to wonder.
It was 2 years.
Was it? I thought it was just like a year and some change.
Like Live and Let Die is 71, and then this is 73, and then you get.
I thought it was 73 for Live and Let Die and 74 for.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, because Diamonds Are Forever is 71. Sorry. Yes, you're right. It is 73, 74, and then 77 for Spy Who Loved Me. You're right.
Yeah, they took their dear sweet time pinching that turd out.
Oh, they had all that casting for Carl. So.
Yeah, who is equally as energetic in that the Tehran incident film with Peter Graves.
I don't know if I know what you're talking about.
Oh, it's like it was filmed right before the Iran Revolution kind of thing in Iran and stuff. It's pretty awful film.
No, okay.
And he's in it, and he's the baddie, and he's just as charismatic. yeah, that's the word.
We went from charismatic to droll pretty fast.
It just kind of slipped out, but
even Christopher Lee can't rescue this movie.
Save this film. Yeah, like it's just not
him and his. I'm gonna rub my golden gun on your chest.
And I'm not the biggest fan of Maude Adams. It's not like she's a bad actress.
Yeah, she's just kind of in this movie. She's just kind of there.
Right. At least with Octopussy, she gets a little bit more.
Some,
well, not a little bit, but you get a lot more and
script to work with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
I'll give her this. Maude Adams didn't look like she had aged very much between this and Octopussy.
Now 9 years.
10 years. Like she didn't really look very different. So. Some of the scenery is amazing in this movie, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like when that plane flies by for Bond to have the showdown with Kananga. Like some very impressive and great just scouting to pick that particular spot as his secret base and stuff that's done well. Like that is some of the cinematography is good.
Just whatever.
And Nick Nack doesn't really bug me. Like he's not a really really terrible piece of the movie, but some of the stuff he does is just like he's just no thanks. Like it's just dumb. But just as the overall scope, and then all of the good night stuff.
What is Scaramanga's like? It's like, oh, I'm gonna take over this enterprise, and it's just.
I don't know. Yeah, it's conflicted, but all of the good night stuff is just the worst. She has to be the worst Bond lead female character. She has to be completely useless. Gets locked in a car trunk with the keys. Hits the laser thing with her butt.
Doesn't notice it.
Stays in the.
Which is very concerning.
Yeah.
She should see a doctor.
Well, yeah. You seem to have a thumbtack in your ass. You didn't notice? Nope. Yeah, Stays in the closet for that whole disgusting expose scene. Like, and then like all the dialogue between Bond and Rimmer's like, your time will come. It's like, oh, jeez, wow. Just so, yeah, there's so much bad.
Highlight that interaction versus what he does with BB, and
yeah. Well, even with
For Your Eyes Only. Like,
what's the other character For Your Eyes Only? The other.
Oh, Havelock.
Yeah, like, again, until the very end, quite cordial and yeah, like it's good. It's interesting, or it's an interesting relationship. Yeah, it's bad. It's just so bad. A waste of the locale of Thailand in some regards too.
Mm-hmm.
Shoving the kid off the little boat or whatever that, I can't remember what those boats are called, but yeah, lazy martial arts scenes. Yeah, there's so much we can go on and on and on. Right?
It's just abysmal.
when I forgot his name. Remember the partner of Kananga? And he's like building the gun right in front of him.
Oh yeah, and he's just kind of like, I wonder what he's doing.
I'm cutting you out of the deal, Mr. Kananga. Oh really? Okay, die.
You keep saying Kananga. No, stop it.
Oh, why I keep saying Kananga? Jeez, Scaramanga. Thank you. Jeez, sorry. I keep saying because I like Kananga. That's why. Thank you. Sorry. I really like Kananga.
You'd be rather watching that film.
Yeah, I think so. Would rather be watching that. Well, at least Roger Moore didn't bottom out all 7.
Oh boy,
he could have.
Yeah, he could have.
But
I think it was very, very, very judicious. 2 for Craig, 2 for Moore.
Connery got one.
You got a Connery one, and a Pierce one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't end up getting Brosnan in my bottom 7, so. All right. Whew.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of energy out of you to get through those. Just having to think about that.
Revisit old wounds.
It's exhausting. Past flames that you don't want to meet anytime soon. Well, shall we get into
in your throat?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the ranking,
this Bond ranking
of the actors. Yes. Do you want to start it off? Or?
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine with starting.
Okay.
I don't know how do you want to get to that end point though? Just because we're obviously once you pick 2, 1 will be instantly revealed. So. Let's go back and forth till we get to 2 to 1, and let's see who's been taken off the board, and see if we're going to end up arriving at that same conclusion.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this will.
Yeah, I've kind of sort of struggled, but not really. The first day I wrote this down, I was like, I think that's it, and then I came back to it today, and I'm still satisfied with the list. Okay. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of jockeying.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of guess this person might be at the bottom of yours, but maybe not. But I ended up with Lazenby at the bottom, mostly because it's the one film he only had, right? Didn't really have much of an opportunity to impress somewhere down the line with different film and theme and other actors to be around him. And it's more so than him being like horrible. He's not horrible. He really isn't. He's not great. But it would have been interesting if he had carried on to see what would we have thought of Lazenby as Bond. But so he is at the bottom of my list.
Yeah, he's the bottom as mine as well, and for the same reason. There's only the one film, which is not necessarily a knock, but he isn't the strongest point of that film. The film is, it's a good film, but like the 2 lists beforehand, wasn't in the bottom 7,
right?
Nor was it in the top 7.
Right.
It's kind of it's middling. It's a decent showing, but it's not a great thing to be like, man, I really wish the other guy got that chance instead of you coming here and throwing uppercut haymakers or whatever the hell those things are called.
Yeah.
Going soda pop Insky on everybody.
Amazing sound effect.
Like, but like, yeah, not. It's almost like a plate of spaghetti. It's hard to muck up spaghetti. It certainly can be done, and did not do it. But it's just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I was thinking more like pizza. Like, even bad pizza is decent enough that you get through it, but good pizza is amazing, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is some sort of that effect.
And he's just he is.
You just kind of got the short end of the stick to some degree, right? And coming in after Connery doesn't help, and there's a lot of reasons why he's probably at the bottom of many people's lists.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a hard sell to put him there, but you kind of feel compelled, like you don't really have much choice because there just isn't enough body of work to go off of. The performance is fine enough, but it's not amazing. It picks up on that latter portion of the movie when he's with Tracy that you get a little bit more he seems a bit more comfortable, but that's because he's kind of got a person to lean on for the acting scenes and stuff. So, yeah, he does feel like he looks kind of uncomfortable in a lot of moments in the movie.
Yeah. And
it doesn't help that so many other actors had changed, right? You had a new Blofeld, you had a new, so.
Right, yeah, there's not.
Everyone was not familiar with their roles necessarily, walking in fresh, so.
Sure. Yeah. Taking this rung up one step, this should not be a surprise coming from my mouth.
I'm not surprised.
Sir Roger Moore.
Yes, Sir Roger Moore is number 5 for me too.
I'm not of equal enjoyment of camp and lighthearted revelry, as so many other people seem to be. I don't know. I feel it feels like there's a very. I wonder if it's just because they're more vocal of subset of people who are just like, yes, good old Roger Moore. He is certainly. Boy, shucks, howdy, do I love his films. No, absolutely not. I don't hate all of them, but he certainly swung and missed a whole lot more, and just the delivery of this pompous jerk of a character made me want to strangle Bond at times, where it's just like, this is not, I don't like this. This is a kind of obnoxious, holier than thou Bond that's, not my cup of tea when it comes to the films.
Yeah, like borderline caricaturization of the character in a lot of ways. Like just, yeah.
And I think it's also, it's upsetting because it's like, oh, they're like, for your eyes only. You can point to a film that he does a really good job of keeping things even keeled. Where is that elsewhere?
I mean, I think to a degree Live and Let Die, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not in the same vein as For Your Eyes Only as a theme. So, but he's certainly not a bad part of Live and Let Die. Like he really isn't. So.
No. Right.
But it drops off quick after that.
7 films.
Like I have a hard time picking a third Roger Moore movie. I really have to sit and think about which one would I sit through as the third. It's probably A View to a Kill if I have to really pick.
But it's not because of him either.
But it's also not. It's not because of him either. Like it's not because he's so bad in it, right? Like
right.
Just But it is tough. It is tough to pick him any higher. I agree with all those points.
Yeah. So. But
good on him for seemingly taking up the mantle, though, and really seeming to enjoy his time as Bond. I think that's one thing that I think that Roger Moore, he seemed to really sort of champion the franchise.
He was one of the few that didn't seem to be like, this is stupid.
Right.
I hate this character.
Yeah.
I want him to die.
Yeah, like he didn't sort of get burned out with it. Like as much as he wanted to kind of move on, and they kept calling him back, but because he seemed to get a lot of joy from being in the role, so so I mean, there's some credit due to him for that for sure. All right, so that puts me next.
At first.
I'm really worried we're gonna have the same list. Not worried.
We probably will.
I'm not worried, but what else? This doesn't surprise me. We've had so many alignments in a lot of these categories in film, and there have been some variances, but anyways.
There were differences.
Yep, some. I guess for Bond we just don't have differences, but for a lot of other things we do.
Hey, now I mean, our bottom seven's fairly different in ways. Certainly, not.
I'm finding it amusing that we have a very broad taste in many other aspects of life, but in Bond, for some reason, we're very similar. I have Craig at number 4.
Oh, you do? I do too.
Yeah, I have Daniel Craig at number 4. Because as a lot of the points you have stated, that as the time went on, and some of this is not his fault, but just as the films had to stretch for in real time, going from a 2007 window taking all the way up to 2021 for this final one to release, it kind of hurts his performances, just and not him as an actor, but just it hurts the whole run of being so stretched out. And then it's like, well, I gotta go back and watch those movies. And like, how many times did people do that? And probably got burned out of like, I gotta watch Casino now because I'm gonna go see Quantum. Okay, well, and then there's this big wait time for Skyfall. So you watch those 2 movies to get ready for Skyfall. And then, the huge wait for Spectre. So you watch those 3 movies again to get to Spectre. And the lack of joy. like the amount of levity or positivity that comes out of those movies. Like, it was very hard to walk out of a Craig movie and you're like shaking your fist, like, I want to be a secret agent, being excited. And I don't know if that happened at any of those movies. Yes, Casino, yes, but it still ends on a dour note. Like, it ends on like a badass note, if you will, right? Of like, saying the Bond line or whatever, but it's still like, this guy's soul and fractured heart, are going to now dictate the rest of this run based on the elements of this first one. And it's
Quantum seems to be the one that has like the most, like Quantum and Spectre are the 2 that are the good guys. We did it.
Right. And Spectre still feels kind of like it didn't totally work out in the end.
Yeah, well, but it's also deflated. Oh, wow, cool. Great that you got Blofeld.
Right. Well, and then Madeline being like, I'm leaving, and then she's there again.
Right.
So, yeah. And even Quantum, it doesn't feel like it's finite. It still feels like there's something more to do because of what Quantum signifies. Like, yeah,
right.
He gets his,
the air.
Yeah, like he does get his one up. Like, by catching what is he, an Albanian mole or whatever he is. But even that, like, it's a great emotional moment, but then as he walks out, it almost falls flat.
It's a much more like subdued. Yeah, instead of punching the sky.
This guy just goes on an absolute tear through South America. And then he gets to the man he's actually trying to get to. And then it's just like the balloon just deflates. Like,
it's a soft little, like, to yourself little fist pump. You're like,
yeah.
Not a lot of
yeah. A little, that is true. So I do have Craig at number 4. And again, Craig as an actor is actually, he's quite a compelling and interesting actor. But yeah, just as time, can you imagine if the run got bookend with another movie that was similar to Casino as the final, as if No Time to Die somehow was able to mirror that. So even if those ones in the middle were very dour and all that stuff, but Bond ends on that positive note, and it really comes out light on the end of the tunnel and all that sort of stuff. I might feel different. I might have him higher, but it just keeps trajecting down. It's just a nosedive all the way down. Die. Everything's bad and gloom and doom and nothing. No happy ending for anybody. And yeah, it's so bad. And the film is also the tinge of them just feel darker. Like the actual film quality feels gray. It gets more and more gray as they go on. Like look at Casino. It's lush blues and vibrant greens, and all those elements are there, and you get that in Quantum with that kind of orange hue throughout the film. And then it just starts getting gray from there.
Just life being sucked out of it.
Yes. Dwindled down to that last drop of that final Vesper martini. Like the lemon peel was flicked out of that at the end of Casino. Like so I don't know what else I can say about that, if you've got anything to add about the Craig era there.
It's such a unfortunate thing to hit such a strong high start and then just clunkily fall off the wagon. It had something come along at the end that really would have helped elevated the lack of taking nut shots for like 5 movies.
Yes, sir. May I have another? I think is what you said before.
Yeah.
It's surprising that any of those characters survived by the end.
Right.
Seriously. Like any of the MI6 agents are still around. Like it's surprising.
Yeah, and that's what they wanted to go for. They wanted to do that and then turn everybody into, we don't know who the real bad guy is. Right. And it's just, and like you said, Craig as an actor, it's not so much him, it's just like what he's working with.
Right.
It's just
Yep.
That and just not being interested in Bond after 2.5 films.
Right.
It seems like Skyfall did, really.
Well, even Skyfall, like his performance is energy. I feel like he, at that point, he's kind of not checked out, but he's not having a fun time by that movie.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
It seemed to be like Skyfall really broke him. It felt like, and he's just like, I'm done. This is stupid.
Right.
Spectre. Okay, whatever.
Right.
Oh, I free myself from the shackles of this mortal coil known as James Bond. Right. Please end me.
Right.
Yeah. So. All right. So, number 3. It's got to be Pierce.
That's who I have. I have Pierce.
And yeah, I like Pierce. Pierce is charismatic.
He is.
He's like you kind of mentioned earlier in this, maybe a little too comfortable in those shoes by the fourth film.
Well, even by The World's Not Enough for Me, he's starting to get a little bit too cheeky, and you start to see the element right from the start for sure. Mm-hmm. But it's I've kind of find by the third movie, and then it's completely nonsensical by the fourth. Right,
and I mean, it's not been a secret as well that he was like, okay, I'm done. I think after The World Not Enough, he was like, I don't want to do anymore.
Right.
But get me out of here.
He did, like you said, I think he had a lot of fun doing Die Another Day, because then they just kind of pulled the rug out from underneath him. I believe he thought he was going to be back, and then I did see he had like a conversation, and they said they didn't know where to take Bond or something, and he was kind of getting the message from them, that's Wilson and Broccoli there, that they didn't want him anymore because they were going to do something different. I think they kind of proposed some ideas, and he was like, the way you're telling me this is basically telling me I'm out. So I think he was just like, well, I'll do you one better. I'm out. and just like walked out, basically. Which is, yeah, it is too bad that he's kind of unceremoniously dumped. Because what would a fifth movie with Brosnan been like? I'm sure he would have taken to heart the review. Well, I'm sure he would have taken that.
That's not something we've really thought about.
No, but like if he had taken that to heart, the reflection that.
You know what would have happened?
What?
He would if
Thunderball
there was a
3.
I was going to say Moonraker 2.
Oh,
I could feel it. I feel it in my soul. Had there been a fifth Brosnan film, it would have been loop-de-loop like Moonraker.
The Man with the Silver Sword. They would have really went with the innuendos on that one.
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
He should have showed up in one of the Austin Powers movies just as like a, like to just make fun of the fact that he left Bond. Like he should have totally just showed up in one of those.
Well, when was the last one?
Goldmember?
The third one? Yeah, was that 2003?
2004 or something. It was just after.
Okay.
So like it was a decent time frame that they would have done Die Another Day, and he should have just popped up as a cameo or something just to totally stick it to them, right? But I would have been okay with a fifth Brosnan if they could have really reined it back in, right, and done something that I don't think they would have gone as overboard again, knowing like just the reception, and that's why they end up pulling it up, pulling the carpet from under his feet and going a different direction.
Right.
So, yeah. But yeah,
I get stuck into the more sequence of, we've pulled it back, so you're going to be here, and he gets 7 films.
Well, at least we didn't get 7 Brosnans. I think he would. He would have definitely been done with it for sure.
So,
although today, old man Pierce Brosnan, Bond, could be kind of interesting. Beardo Bond. He's still in pretty good shape, and he still looks quite young, considering, what is he, almost 70 now? 68 or something?
Something like that.
Could be interesting, but it will never happen.
Right. All right. So, top 2 here.
Yeah, it's a roll of the dice. Let me preface this, though.
Okay.
So, until we went on this, and the previous year having watched the 2 Dalton films, because I didn't watch any other Bonds until we got back into this, Dalton was definitely not this high on the ranking. Even though I liked License to Kill, Dalton probably would have been...
Round Craig?
No, he was probably under Roger Moore even.
Okay.
Because, again, when I was younger, like, the nostalgia of the Roger Moore movies was a little bit more formulated in the fact that, like, I enjoyed the comedy bits as a younger viewer. And also, I think I had far more exposure to the Roger Moore films. And I have always had a really strong affinity to Live and Let Die. So Dalton probably was sitting at 5.
5th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And probably also more so because Lazenby, I didn't really know like On Her Majesty's very well. So yeah, he probably would have been sitting at number 5. Was the likely spot he would have been at until we started watching. Truthfully, since I watched last year and then rewatching this year and rewatching all of these now. So I don't know what that looked like for you, but because you made the comment about like to your dad or something, right? It's like, I think Timothy Dalton's my favorite Bond or something you said. And so that kind of insinuated to me that he must have been quite a bit lower on your list too.
Yeah, that wasn't really, it's just kind of just a bit of a blank spot in certain ways. It's just kind of like, okay, whatever. Not too much. Just like, sure, whatever. They're a couple films. The end.
Right. Yeah, they didn't do nothing, and then something just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how do you want to reveal this? I mean, we'll just reveal it quick, and then we'll just do the synopsis, right? So,
yeah.
did you want to just throw yours out first, or do you want me to?
Yeah, throw yours out first.
Okay. It's tight. I have to admit. This was by far the hardest decision of the group here, and this is the one where I was like, I don't know if I want to flip flop here or if I should go this way or that.
Mm-hmm.
Connery is still number one for me.
Okay.
Dalton is number two. It is very close though, and I can't even imagine, even just a year and a half ago before watching them, that ever would have been a phrase that I would have entertained. So Dalton is very by like a sliver at number two behind Connery, and I think it's just because Connery helps set such a tone of so many aspects to this character, and I know it's not maybe as close to the novelization Bond character, but he just has such a magnetic presence and carries the franchise into such an interesting place. And even though he's got bad movies along the way and not so great performances, when he's on as Bond, he's so magnetic to watch on screen. And then with Dalton, it's just that unbridled intensity as Bond, and just how much you can just tell that he's having a good time, but he's being so respectful to the source material and to the character, and trying to be so true to the Ian Fleming vision, and trying to portray Bond as his own character, right? Not just to be like, well, this is what Moore did, this is what Connery did, this is what Lazenby did. He's trying to look at that framework that Fleming has on paper, take a script, and find a way to mesh them both and put that to celluloid, right? So, yeah. So I really appreciate both of them in different regards. So what you got?
All right, I am flipped. So okay. Sean Connery's number two for me.
So your statement of, I think Dalton is my favorite.
I think Dalton,
that's
Timothy
amazing.
Dalton he amazing. Just, and it's because of that intensity. Yeah. Like that, there's just something about that is, Craig does have it.
He does, yeah.
And Pierce has it a little bit. Like a very, very, very little tiny little.
Well, you see it. You see, like I said, you see it with that doctor. I think I could have sworn it's the Kaufman scene, but anyway, so that's the scene where you kind of see that when he cold-bloodedly kills him, right? Like that's a good moment of that, or when him and Elektra right at the end. So there are moments for sure.
Yeah, but yeah, just that laser focus that it just sells it for me. I've come around on Sean. Honestly, for a long time, I did not really like Connery a lot.
Okay, so was Brosnan at your top?
He was high. He would have been high. Yeah, I would have probably, if you would have asked me this, at some other point, I would have probably had Pierce as number one.
Okay.
But that's also because I was a big GoldenEye fan. And then it would have been like maybe Pierce, Craig, Sean, Moore, Dalton, Lazenby definitely would have been last, but
Craig quite high. Hey?
Yeah, well, because I like this is before
pre-Skyfall.
Yeah,
because you and I like Quantum. I seriously thought Quantum was going to be in your top 7. That was the one that I was thinking was going to creep in there.
I really, really enjoy it. I do really like it. It's just outside of top 7.
It would be in my top 10.
It's a fringe one. Like, I love it, but it's just a little off. No, like, yeah, there's the great first 2 outings. And then, it is not a sprint, it is a marathon. As for Connery, I've mentioned how much I don't like Goldfinger. Like, that movie is not an enjoyable. Like, I don't hate it, and it would have been disingenuous of me to throw it into the bottom 7. But it is not an enjoyable film to me. Yolt's there. I've come around to Diamonds, so maybe that helps. That, and also just revisiting Dr. No, and seeing what it is, and then also like really getting into From Russia with Love. Yeah, and it's just, he certainly doesn't have that Dalton edge, but of course, he makes it his own, and yeah, he's enjoyable. It's just, what other, like, those two are the only two I can really think of to be like, man, I really wish they would have gotten, that number 5 to be the proper number 5, or wow, it would have really been nice for Dalton to have gotten more. None of the other actors do I feel that way with. So,
not even Brosnan?
No.
No. Okay.
Four's good enough.
Well, if Brosnan had started earlier, that would have been interesting.
It would have, but I guess it's also me thinking, man, that would have cut into what little bit we've got at Dalton. Now, if there was a way to like shift it down to where he would have been,
Well, he was supposed to be in, what was he supposed to be in? Was it Octopussy?
I think so. I think
because it was him and Dalton, right?
Yeah.
See, and I can see Pierce in Octopussy. I can see him in View to a Kill. I can see him in Living Daylights, but I don't really see him in License to Kill.
Right.
But then I can see Dalton in Goldeneye.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him in Tomorrow Never Dies, though. So, like, yeah, it's funny. Like, and that's why it was fun when we were kind of saying, oh, what if this actor was in this one or that one, or...
Right, but we could put, like you had said about Timothy Dalton, is that you could pretty much put him in a whole slew of other areas. You could put him in
quite a large section.
Like I had said before, I would have loved to have seen him do, like, From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been some primo stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or, flip it and go, go a little bonkers. You give him the pairing of Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace. See how that goes.
Yeah, I could see that being good.
Right. He can fit in all these other places, but you can't really say that for Roger Moore.
Not easily, at least.
Yeah, a little hard for...
Well, we did say he would make a perfect fit for Die Another Day. Live and Let Die Another Day.
So, yeah, that's Timothy Dalton is my number 1. He did it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just had the only thing I think for me that just pushed Connery slightly higher is that he's able to, like you said, he kind of is able to make it his own to some degree, whereas Dalton is sticking as close as possible to the original vision, which I appreciate both aspects of that.
Right, because it's some time after, right? So that's he's going against grain by filling into that
which, like, Connery started that sort of, you got to be somewhat cheeky, but you got to be a bit vicious, but you got to, and that's where Connery kind of balances all those elements in a way that Dalton, like, the romantic stuff is not the strongest with Dalton. It's not terrible, it's not. But just, again, that kind of goes back to what we talked about, right? The natural intensity of Dalton's relaxed look is not a really welcoming romantic...
he's got the look of a killer.
Yeah, like, it's not a romantic leading man look for the most part, right? But he's been in other movies where you see him and he's very charming, and like we were talking about The Rocketeer. I can't remember if you said you'd seen that or not.
I hadn't seen it.
But he's super charming in that, right? And he's playing
He's
basically
the bad guy, I think,
Clark
right?
Gable, but if he were a Nazi, yes, like it's just, well, because he looks
just
like
love
Clark Gable, and he's got like the mustache
Right.
and the slicked hair and everything, right? Like that's the look he has. But he's playing the villain, but he's super charming in that movie. Like he's very magnetic as the villain in that, and he's I can't even pick out some of the other roles he's in off the top of my head, but when
He's
he
in
plays
that new
Toy Story
TV
3 and
series.
4 as Mr. Pricklepants, so and he's
He's
really
in that
good.
he's in that new TV series, not Yellowstone, but the like 1923 or something like that.
Is that the one with Harrison Ford and such? Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
right. And I was like, oh, that sounds
Yeah.
awesome with those two in it.
Right.
That does sound pretty cool. Can you imagine if Harrison
So
Ford played a villain in a Bond movie? Because he doesn't really play villains often. That might actually be kind of an interesting fit if it was the right Bond movie. But he's got such a hero face. Like he's so like synonymous, right, with being a hero kind of thing, right?
the lovable stuff.
It would be tough.
Right.
Yeah, it would be tough, but I think he could play a good villain if he needed to.
You'd have to be somebody like Scaramanga. You'd have to be like the jaded one-time hero
I
who's
could
now
see him in A View to a Kill if they tweaked it a little bit to be not quite so psychotic. Well, like, cause like they let, like,
right. No, I
like, cause they wanted him to be like totally unhinged from all the chemicals and the drugs they were pumping into him and all that and everything. But I can think if it was not quite so, like, just way out there and
on display.
unhinged. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I could see that potentially working. If he was a bit younger, being the Sean Bean character of Giannis, right? Like I could possibly see that if it was a bit older Bond act. Like, yeah, there's a few spots where he could possibly fit, but I really have a hard time seeing somebody else as Indiana Jones, though. I have a hard time. I can only see Harrison Ford. I'm sure there's another actor that could do it, but and you'd see it and you'd be like, wow, that was really great, but just it's hard. I'm not ready to move on from it, even though I know you don't want to see that whatever happens with this new one. It's going to happen at some point, right? There will be a new actor. I'm sure there'll be new actors Indiana Jones at some point. But okay, that's awesome though. Dalton's at your number one. That's really cool, and I am very satisfied with having him at least at number 2, a close 2. So
Woohoo! So
we made it.
We did it.
That's crazy, hey?
We did it.
Until we decide to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a lot longer in the tooth and a lot grayer on the scalp at that point.
Oh. So yeah, any
We might be at actor 10 for Bond at that point. Who knows?
Right. So any parting shots?
No, I just appreciate that we were able to get back into this, and thank you for the journey on this one. And it was fun to think that we started this with all this vim and vigor and trying to do it, and then what it was about a several year gap. So
yeah, that seems to be how I like to do things.
Yeah, it's all good. But we made it. We kind of rebooted it and we made it all the way. So that's pretty awesome. And it was an all-time high. You're lucky. I was going to say it was very sexyful, but
I think I would have preferred that.
That's an underappreciated line.
But yeah, it was good to get back into it. It's good to get through these properly. Even if the latter couple don't quite jive with my tastes and whatnot, it is nice to be able to get through all of them and be a little bit fresher in my head, maybe than I'd like for some of them, but that's all right.
It is crazy still, though, that we, a lot of these choices and not all the scores were that on the money, but there was a lot more than I expected.
That is true. And like you said, we have fairly different tastes in a lot of things. So for to kind of pan out with such strong similarities for Bond is a bit
maybe
of a head scratcher.
Maybe we'll have to see if we can sit down together in a theater for when this new bot comes out.
Hey, there we
Because
go.
we might be walking out with the exact same point of view on that one.
Right.
We'll never know. Possibly, I mean, maybe you never know. I guess anything's possible. We could make it work, but that would be a pretty interesting endeavor if we can make it happen.
Right.
If not, we will watch them separately and perhaps reconvene.
Dun, dun, dun. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that. And all that. Thanks for listening. And definitely let us know your top favorites, least favorites, favorite Bond, and theme as well. We did cover that one as well.
Yep.
So that is it. So thanks for listening, and we will return.